Let me walk you through how I make this CD and show you how it's done because it's extremely easy. Start a new scene in Blender. Let's add a circle. Let's go to edit mode, fill it with F, add a subdivision modifier with level 3 for the viewport and for the render. Then let's add a solidify. We want offset to be 0 and even thickness so we can make it thick from both sides. And that's pretty much done for the rendering, I would say. Let me enable those inside the edit mode. Let's insert this face, even though it looks weird. Let's get rid of this and let's scale it on the Shift Z axis. So the first thing that you need, that is mandatory for this tutorial, is get a CD. It can be just normal CD or mini CD, doesn't matter. The next thing that you probably want to get a Node Wrangler add-on. That is free add-on that comes Blender. You just enable it. This is the HDRI that I'm using. It's called Carpenter Shop, and you can get it on Polygon or just go to the description of this video. You want to also get the Quixel if you don't have any libraries of textures and such, because I will be getting all my roughness maps from this. Now you want to go to Shading tab. Let's get into camera view with numpad 0. Or if you have some shortcuts like I do. I also want to add some kind of a HDRI. Let me go in here. I'm using this Carpenter Shop. Let's use it. Let's add a new material. Let's name it CD. I'll be pasting my previous CD that I make so I can unlock you better. This one doesn't work actually because I am previewing it not properly. Now let's add the HDRI. Set our camera in better view, something like that should work, and let's rotate the HDRI. So we have some reflections. That won't work. I'll be actually making that HDRI into the actual cycles, so I can manipulate the location of it. And let's make it weaker, change the rotation, and that works. Now you want to change the material so it's metallic, the roughness is on 0, anisotropic 1. At this stage, I would probably get some, not this, reference. As I did, I got some CDs, and I just look at them, you know. I took those photos so you can see better that there are some fingerprints, there is some normal data, and how light behaves with it. So let's actually figure out how to get those nice reflection. So the first thing we want to change on this principal BSDF is the base color. So I'll be working through color, then the roughness, and then lastly the normal. So this is the shader. So you want to add tangent node, then you want to add default mapping. You don't even need this mapping, but I will still add it. If you want to change the shader, I'll do it. Then the Fresnel, or whatever it's called. Fresnel. And lastly, a color ramp. And as you can see, if we preview it, even now it looks, you know, like CD would look. The light, or whatever it does here as a real CD. So we want to add factor to this. And now we can play with the colors and such. So let me add a little bit of stuff. Like, I don't know, let's go with yellow this time. Making it saturated. Then now with I don't know, something. Okay, this works for me, and I also added the hue saturation value node. Actually, let me add a new one, so it's resetted. And with this one, you can change something like value if your stuff is too white. Although if it's overblowing, I would use gamma node because it works way better in this case, as you can see. Instead of going like this. And there's saturation if you want more saturation, or hue, although I wouldn't play with hue on myself. And if we add it here, as you can see, it's this now the whole palette of the reflection. And if we go like this properly, and this also works in Eevee, so it's like a good stuff. See, we are in Eevee and it works fine. Now, the next thing I'll be doing is those roughness maps. Like here, those fingerprints. So let me get them from the Quixel bridge. Fingerprints. Let's look for something. Now we export it and we wait for the successfully exported or something right here. Now that it's done, you want to click those 3 dots and copy asset ID. Then we go to our shader, and we add a texture and image texture, which is right here. And we just copy, we add it, and as you can see, nothing changed because it's not mapped properly, because we want to add something on here on that vector side. So we go Control T, and now still nothing. So let's do this with box, and let me do the object, or just camera. I feel like camera would be better. Although if we are doing a animation of some sort, object is better. And now we want to add a map range. And with the map range node, we will be changing the first value, get something about here, and also we want to add a value node to control the scale. And we plug it right here. Now if we type now 1, we are scaling on the axis, and you want to probably look at your reference and get something that looks right with the scale, because scale is really important with your material. That should be about right for me, and I might just change the rotation. Also, if you want to make it more adjustable, you can plug another value node to location, so we have better control over it, and we have some sort of a seed control. And now we just plug it into the roughness map, the roughness socket, sorry, and we get something looking better. But the thing is, this is too sharp. As you can see, we are going from white, which is non-rough, to completely rough. And if you were to study the fingerprints, it will be like that. So to change that, we have to go again to the map range node, and I'm previewing it with Shift, Control Shift, and like left click to preview, and we want to change the 2max node to something about, I don't know, 150. Let's see, way better. Okay, and this is like the base of our material. I'll be expanding it in a bit. Also, if you want to make your node setup way cleaner, like I like to do, you can click the mapping node, because we won't be changing that, and you can just snap the control. You can also, for this, we won't be changing that, not this one. And your node setup should look something like this if you care about clean nodes, like I do. And now, as you can see on this reference, there's some kind of a irregularity to the surface, as I would say, as you can see. And to do this, it's extremely easy. So what we'll do is we'll measure the normal map of this object, and we take texture coordinate. We also need a noise texture, and we're using the object. Let's see if that looks good. It does. Now we'll be mixing them both together. So to do that, we just click Ctrl Shift, right click, we click on the noise texture, and then on the geometry, and we unclick. And we want to use the linear light, and we'll be going really, or let me fix the noise texture first. So what you want to do is probably go really tiny with this, and we actually be using the color socket, not the factor. And I like to go rough, really rough with this. And let's see if this works. It doesn't, because we are not actually using position, but a normal. Now it's way better. Let's Control H that, plug it into the normal, the clear code normal, and the tangent. And as you can see, this doesn't work. And to fix that, we need to go really low with this factor value, really low. Let's go even lower. And as you can see from this angle, it doesn't look that good, even though the factor is pretty much the same as the other material that I did previously. So let's change the angle view, and now it's looking way better. The is that the noise is actually way too big, so we need to crank up the scale. And the actual city don't have those normal maps, except for the one I have on this photo, because this is not the reflective, shiny, clear part of the city, but actually some kind of plastic, or I don't know what is. but I still decided to add it because this makes it more interesting. And as you can see, we don't have our roughness, so we have to crank it up. So it's way more visible. So now I'll be adding the other two materials, which is this stripe, those stripes, and this transparent material. And to that, we actually need to make the subdivision not visible inside of the edit mode. And we want to add a loop cut here, another around here, and one about here. Crease them. And now you want to extrude it really little bit because we don't want for it to be like really apparent. We just want to hint that there's something going on. Let's pick this ring of faces and let's add a new material called transparent. And you also want to assign it, and you also want to create the loops material or whatever you want to for those black stripes to be called. And you want to select this top face and also those side face and assign them again. Select the transparent material, go to shader editor, and you want to crank up the transmission to the max and also roughness to, I don't know, either 0 or 0.1, whatever you want to go for. And for the loops, you want to make the roughness, I don't know, 0.2 maybe, and change the color to whatever you like. I'll be changing to, I don't know, this pinkish color. And let me adjust the width of those rings so they are more pleasing. Okay, now that you've done that, you probably want to add some loop cuts right here. Actually, before you do that, you want to change the offset to -1. I was wrong currently. Now you can add some kind of details to this transparent part if you want to. Let me do that actually. Okay, this works for me. You can go with whatever you want to, and you also want to smooth it, and you can probably play with the loops material if you want to. You can make it more black. Now we are almost finished. I would probably want to add some scratches, even though those CDs that I had at home weren't so scratched, but it's still useful to add some kind of detail. So I'll be using this texture. Again, export, copy asset ID, and let's actually copy the setup that we did before. Let's add the texture. That would be this one, I feel. Yes, and we want to add those together, and we do that with just a map node, simple that. And this works right here because the background is black for both textures, so we are just adding the white part or the rough or the imperfection rather. And with this again, with scale, you want to move it. Make it like that, and let's see. I'm sorry if the bitrate of this video is really bad. Let me do it like this, and it's better. See that there's some imperfection, and now we can make the actual scratches, but for that we probably want better map, like something like that, because here there's a lot of small scratches and hair, I think. So we want something with big scratches, like even this works. So let me get that. Again, copy, paste, and we want to add a bump node, and the result will be going to the height map, the height socket rather. Let's plug it into the normal. And right now it's probably way too big, the strength. So I want to crank it up really. And you also want for the distance to be really small, even maybe like 0.01. So it's not like really deep. That should be for me. And to mesh this normal that we did previously in this one, you want to plug the color into the normal socket, and now it should be meshed together, but you cannot see that, that's fine. But if we see the BSDF, you can see that we have scratches and we have our data to make it more frosty. And you can make it smaller if you want to. And now I would say the shader is probably done. What you want to do is copy the normal data and the roughness data to the other parts. If you really want to push it, what I would do is I would get those scratches, and I would make them smaller. Maybe something like this, you might be having hard trouble seeing it, but it's quite small, and we want to add again, add a node, and you can see it's here. And if you look at the BSDF, you can see that there's something going on. And of course, if you don't want for your CD to look damaged as much, don't go for it. But as you can see, I use the same map and I just scaled it up. So you can also do that with the roughness map. This is how you add dust. You basically just copy the texture setup. You want to add some dust texture from Quixel. You can duplicate it and make smaller particle dust and bigger ones, and those bigger ones will be more spare. And then you want to mix it with the color ramp. You want to use screen. Now the rest of this video is me just talking over the footage that I sped up over 8 times. As you can see, I'm duplicating the maps, making them more, adding some dust. From my experience, good texture comes from a lot of subtle variation in roughness, in scratches, in color, and we learn how to do those subtle variation through observing the reference or just observing the real world, because reference can be tricky and it's, digital photo, so it doesn't contain all the information that we need. As you can see, I'm trying different textures from Quixel for the dust texture because I couldn't get the right one, so there's no shame in that. And now I'm duplicating the basically final roughness and dust and those scratches over the transparent and the loops material. Now you probably should or shouldn't play with the textures for the roughness and the scratches to make them more distinct for the transparent part, and the loops to make it more unique. But I just didn't care because I would be adding a lot of noise, so people wouldn't notice it for the renders. Here I am checking the color ramp because I didn't like how it looks, so I just changed it to something more contrasty with the reddish color. Here I'm tweaking. There's a lot of tweaking. If you want a good material, you have to tweak a lot. But since I'm doing it second time, it's a lot of quicker for me because I know what works and what doesn't. And here I'm starting to make the renders. I didn't record the whole timelines of the render that I did for this video, so you will have to deal with that, I guess. And if you guys want some kind of tutorial for rendering, let me know. And I'm thinking of opening a free mentorship for 3 people throughout my week. So if you're interested in that, just let me know and message me on Twitter or ArtStation. Take care, guys.